Hello and welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analysing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you the magic power you have, what makes you magnificent, and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. To get your dream analysed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com, fill in the form and submit your dream. That's it. That's all you have to do. I take it from there. My sister-in-law Karen passed away this weekend. She battled cancer for many years. Every time I saw her, she was always brave, always positive, always thinking of others. She doesn't share my views, but I do believe her strong Christian faith helped her face her battle in the brave way she did. She passed away before midnight on Friday. My wife and I weren't informed until Saturday morning, but we knew something had happened because Karen showed up in the middle of the night and stayed with us for about an hour. Both Sandy and I talked to her for as long as she was there. She was super curious and was being assisted by her guides to be there. And then she was gone and hasn't been back. A question I often get asked is, why don't I dream of my loved ones after they pass? The answer is, this typically only happens when your loved one has faded over a long period of time before they pass. Given Karen's long health struggle, she will be cared for in the healing rooms in the spirit world for some time and won't get to visit us again until she's recovered. She won't appear in any of Sandy's dreams until then too. When a loved one appears and talks to us in a dream, it is because we actually met them on the astral plane during the night. The astral plane is a midway point between the spirit and physical worlds. The memory of those encounters is given form in our dreams. Despite being able to channel and know when spirits are around, this is still a very sad time. It doesn't take away the loss, but it does help. I think I'm more affected by how much Sandy is impacted by the loss of her sister, her only sibling. With Sandy's blessing, I thought I might still be able to work with a client I had on Saturday, but my ability to focus was gone. I had to reschedule. We love you, Karen. We miss you. And we look forward to talking to you again when you've recovered. Karen's passing makes me want to briefly talk about how we face death in the West. With the pandemic, we are probably more acutely aware of the danger of illness and death than ever in our lives. But in the West, death is not a subject that is really talked about. As a result, most of us go into it fearful and unprepared, and I include the devoutly religious in that too. Despite the promise of the kingdom of heaven, many amplify their sins in their minds, and when the time comes, are afraid to meet their Maker, unsure of how the hammer will fall. The vibration of the planet is increasing. As it continues, people will be unable to remain here and be negative, be hateful, be angry, even at themselves. In just a few years, souls will not be able to come to this planet to act out a penance they have given themselves, to live a life of misery as a way of atoning for previous lives where they feel they fell short. Maybe murdered someone, didn't help when they could. When we pass, we get to review our lives. In fact, we can't escape the review. During the review, we re-experience each of our actions, but in the review, we don't just feel how we felt, we also fully feel how our victims felt. For example, if you murdered someone, you feel how your victim felt from their perspective, and how each person affected by their loss felt. We get to feel the full ripple out effect of each of our actions. When our actions are positive and loving, that's a great time during the review. But when they are not, we won't like that. It is at those points that souls decide to atone for their behavior by choosing a life of misery, a life of starvation perhaps, or maybe even many lives. This was on my mind recently, so I asked my guides, how does it work? How long does a person have to punish themselves in order to be able to forgive themselves for something they did? And their answer was enlightening. Souls punish themselves until they reach a point of realizing that punishing yourself does nothing. You must forgive yourself to be free and to grow. Karen, may your review be glorious. Let's do some dreams. Here's one from Jen. She said, my husband, Ron, and I are in the car on the highway with our baby between us in the front seat, sitting on top of his car seat. Ron is asleep, so I'm turning the steering wheel from the passenger seat and it's hard to stay in the lane. Plus the baby keeps grabbing the wheel and trying to turn it. Then I realise I've fallen asleep and I wake up and the car is dead. I can tell it hasn't been very long because I can see a car in my rearview mirror approaching slowly, and I think it was there when I was last awake. We get it going again and Ron looks in the manual and says, it's not good that we've been given the car tea. We need to give it coffee. Apparently the car is friends with tea, so it's not so bad, but coffee is better and will keep this from happening. We go to our apartment and there are 3 guys there. One of them is very forward, introducing himself as Jack. It's like they think we're not social enough and they're trying to make us become more social. So we introduce ourselves, then go inside. I look in the mirror and I see myself in a black dress with a teal mark on my forehead. I look super goth. I think to myself, this is how I dressed yesterday on the last day of school. Okay, so I read out quite a long dream there, but it's very easy to tell when dreams are about your relationship because your partner is going to be in those dreams. And there we have Ron in Jen's dream. So this dream is definitely about a relationship. And then you look at everything that's been said in the dream and apply it to it. And I've often said this before. What you do is you make a sentence like, when it comes to our relationship, Ron is asleep at the wheel. So you look at the negatives in the dream, like keywords that indicate containment, limitation, or disrespect. So being asleep is one, the baby grabbing at the wheel is another, trying to steer from the passenger seat is another, falling asleep is another, not being social. So you basically go through the whole dream, and I could read this dream and then you could just apply all those things and it would just be so obvious. The interpretation would just fall off the page, as my mentor used to say. But I'll just do a few of them. When it comes to my relationship, my husband is asleep at the wheel. At least that's the dreamer's perception. And he may very well be, but that's what the dream's about. When it comes to my relationship, the baby is between us and affecting our direction. And we get that from the baby grabbing the wheel and being between the couple. And they only have a new baby. I think he's about 7 months old. When it comes to our relationship, I'm not in the driving seat, but still having to work to keep us on the road and moving forward. And that's how I would interpret steering from the passenger side. When it comes to my relationship, I've fallen asleep. Okay, so it was your husband earlier on, but now the dream is saying you've fallen asleep. So again, you need to, this is a thing that happens in people's relationships, I think in everybody's, and you have to rekindle it. You have to put the passion back into it. And we see a little bit of the request for that in another part, which I'll cover. But starting here, we have, when it comes to my relationship, we're not social enough. Okay, so you need to be more social, pretty obvious. When it comes to my relationship, from the black dress, we get, my attitude is fearful. And goth to me implies someone who couldn't care less about your issues. But it's whatever it means to you that matters. I don't necessarily know what goth means. Although my daughter went through a phase. So that's what it means to me. The teal is a mix of blue and green. And the teal mark then is about having your heart open as part of your philosophy of life. Blue is philosophy of life and green is the heart. And so you've been asked to do that with regard to your relationship. Always have an open heart. An open heart is always forgiving, is passionate, is loving, unconditionally loving, and so on. And the mark makes this a purpose of your relationship, as in it's your higher self's intention that you do this. And then the part that stood out for the dreamer when she sent it to me, she put a comment in about the tea and the coffee, and she thought it might be a health warning kind of dream, but clearly it's not. And tea is about being open and sharing. Even in my book, I have it listed as it's about the heart. So the crux of the dream is about you opening your heart again, which will be easy enough to do. It's not, this is probably more of a focus about something specific that went on recently that made you realize where your relationship is going. And we have like the car cutting out, it's dead and so on, and needing to get it going again and trying to read a manual to say what you need to do. There isn't a manual, just like there isn't a manual on babies. They're all different and you have to figure it out and wing it. But the Friends with Tea asks you to push your relationship beyond the friends with level, and add a stimulant. Coffee's a stimulant to the relationship. Anyway, I hope that interpretation makes sense to you. Do let me know. Our next dream comes from Julia. It's quite a short one. She says, I get recurring dreams that I am on an elevator. Sometimes I am controlling where it goes, and sometimes I'm stuck inside, but it is always moving. The elevator is sometimes made of glass, and other times it is dark or made of steel. So she asks, what does that mean? Now I know it's a few dreams. So this is about channeling. The elevator is a symbol for the womb, being in the womb, but it's also a symbol for being able to raise your vibration. And this is always key for channels. I'm recording a video about this, but basically it's up to you to raise your vibration and make the connection to the spirit world. And you've had that ability since you were in the womb. Because why? Because while there, that's like right after you get into the physical body. So you're in the womb from about 5 months on, the spirit's in the body. And it can be different for different people, but it's around that time frame. And so you did something to make sure that you didn't lose your connection with the spirit world while in the womb, because that's an important thing for you, because channeling is part of your life. It's going to be part of your life. You're quite young, so you have plenty of time to do this, but you're probably already aware of it. And you say in the dream, sometimes I'm controlling where it goes. And of course, it's up to you to control it. You know, to raise your vibration at will and to drop it back down when you no longer need to channel. And you say sometimes it's made of glass. And so glass is about having the ability to connect with your higher self, to get information through feelings, through your heart space. So that's how it's going to work for you. You get feelings about things, and these feelings come with a lot of knowing. It's like, I know all of this information, and it's just like feelings are always right. So if I feel happy, I'm happy. If I feel sad, I'm sad. There's no logic around it. I'm just sad or I'm just happy. Sometimes we try to apply logic, and we will say to people, well, you should be happy because I did this, this, and this for you. That's not how it works. And information that comes through feelings is the same way. It comes with the information, and it's a knowing. It's just a strong knowing. I know this to be true. And sometimes we think about that too much, and we dissect the information we got, and we block ourselves. So don't block yourself. Anyway, you've got the ability. You say the last part is sometimes it's dark and made of steel. So this is something you want to avoid when you're trying to channel. Avoid being rigid, which is what the steel is about. Avoid using your male side, which is also what steel is about. So be positive, be open, be in your heart space, because that's when it works. All right. A nice short dream. Thanks for that, Julia. And we move on to another one. This one is from Maggie. She says, her comments are, the night before this dream, I asked myself if I should take a job at the hospital as a registrar since the coronavirus, my business is closed. Maybe the dream has nothing to do with that, but I thought I should mention it. Well, thanks for mentioning it. So in the dream, she says, I was in someone's backyard. There was a lot going on that I don't remember. But what I do remember is that all of a sudden I was attacked by bats. I remember 2 of them, but there could have been more. I'm not sure. They were flying right through my hair, so I tried to bend down to avoid them. They weren't hurting me. Next, I look to my right and I see a group of young people, all in yellow t-shirts, coming to the backyard. They were happy. Then I realized that the whole purpose of me being there is to pass over the big swimming pool that was filled with rocks. So I tried to jump over it, but the swimming pool was too wide, so I had to step on those stones, and when I did, rocks started to sink, but I made it. Okay, I find that a very interesting dream. So let's break it apart. You say you were in someone's backyard and there was bats attacking you. Now I'm going to ignore the connection between coronavirus and bats. I don't know if there really is one, but we've certainly heard about it. So we know that's on your mind. But bats in dreams represent you have the ability to mentally rise above your problems. And bats tell you to be careful because you brought this special ability to project your mind, to have a strong mind. You have to be careful about how you think about other people, and also be aware that how other people think affects you. And hair in dreams represent thoughts, so we know the bats flying through the hair definitely ties that in with that. So it's saying watch your thoughts, because for people like you, they are much stronger. They have a much stronger ability to create your reality than with many other people. Now, our thoughts and our emotions creates their reality, but you can shortcut this, and you can think really positive about something you want, add a bit of emotion to it, and you get it in pretty short order. Anyway, the bats are saying that you have that ability to project your mind, so be aware of it, and be careful about how you think, and don't let other people who think negatively bring you down. You say they were flying through my hair, so I tried to bend down to avoid them. So it's like when people throw negative things at me, think negatively about me, it causes me to make myself smaller, which is what bending down to avoid them is about. So you need to learn to stand up and be positive in the face of all the negatives. That's the whole point for you of what's going on in your life right now. They weren't hurting me. Now, of course, you're in someone else's backyard. So this is about in the past. This is what I've experienced in the past. Negativity from other people has affected me and hurt me. Now, you say it didn't hurt you in this dream, but it has hurt you before. And so your reaction to these things is to diminish yourself. So you need to stop diminishing yourself. Next, I look to my right and I see a group of young people all in yellow t-shirts coming to the backyard. Now, you don't say what type of yellow, but yellow is also the color for mental activity, but it's about overcoming fears. And we know from this dream, because you say you see a group of young people, it means that you are meant to work with groups of people, not young people, but you're meant to work with groups of people and help them overcome their fears, which is what the yellow t-shirt is about, and help them realize it's their choice to overcome their fears. They were happy. That's great. Then I realized that the whole purpose of me being there was to pass over the big swimming pool that was full of rocks. Okay, so swimming pools are about getting into life. Now, you have this strong mental ability, so you're very rational. You think about things, and you use that as your way of getting through life. If I was to say, hey, you have a choice of these 3 jobs, you would intellectually work out what job would be best for you. And the dream is saying, look, you need to get into life. Don't always rely on that ability. Start following your heart. And I say start following your heart, but it's really more about getting into life. Let life get you wet, so to speak, because that's what the swimming pool is about. But you want to fly over the pool, again, like the bats. You don't want to get your feet wet. You try jumping over it, but it doesn't work. It's too wide, and you had to step on the stone. So you want concrete things. It's like, okay, Maggie, this is what you need. You need to do a step on A, then step on B, and that'll get you to C. And that's not how it's going to work, of course, but that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. But when you step on the rocks, some of them start to sink, and that's in the dream, that's saying, look, you're going to get wet. You have to step into life. You have to get your feet wet. Ideally, in these type of dreams, you dive into the pool. But here, it's the same sort of thing. When you think you're sinking, you're not really sinking. It's about life, you getting into life. This is a time for you to get into life. And realize that that's why you're here. You're not here to avoid all the unpleasant things. You're here to experience life in its fullness. Anyway, so I don't get that it's a comment on whether you should take the job as the registrar, but definitely we can see your fears there about that, which are understandable. But really you're here to work with groups of people and help them overcome their fears. So hopefully that will make you better able to choose what it is you need to do. Thanks for sending in the dream. And here's one from Alicia. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She said, I received the last letter my dad wrote to me while he was in prison. Time was fast forwarding and I wasn't getting any more letters, which made me believe that I wasn't enough for my own father to stay in my life. Okay, so that's the crux of the dream. I wrote and I asked, but I didn't get enough. I didn't give you enough time to respond, I suppose. So I don't know whether your dad was actually in prison or not, or whether it's more likely that it's symbolic about your dad being in prison. So what we can look at is the sentiment that you express at the very end. I wasn't enough for my own father to stay in my life. And that's what you need to work on. You need to work around issues with your dad, because that's why you're here. Work on those issues. What do we get from dad? What's male energy? Male energy is about believing in yourself, feeling worthy of the space you occupy, putting yourself out there, feeling that you have a right to be on the stage, or to be heard, or to be whatever it is. Putting yourself in the physical world, out there in the physical world, career-wise as well included. That's all male energy. And so the dream says that you didn't get the support you needed from your dad, so you need to work on that issue in order to grow your own connection with your own male side. We all have male and female energy. And if it's symbolic with your dad being in prison, then that's about female energy being affected too, and you holding yourself back. But we're going to skip that because we don't really know. But the other part is clearly saying you need to start believing in yourself, realize that your lack of belief in yourself comes from the issues you have with your dad, and healing those, working on those and healing those is what's going to help you grow spiritually in this lifetime. Now, you're quite young. You said 17 when you sent this in. Typically, what we do is we need to live our lives a little bit with the dysfunctions, with the issues, and so on, and then work on them. So it isn't necessarily now is the time that you need to do this, but that's exactly what the dream is talking about. So we move on. We have one from D. She says, I was at some kind of family thing and President Trump was speaking, and he came up and he was like hanging around me, talking to me like we were friends or family. I was out of sorts. I don't hate him, but I'm very critical of every choice he makes. Okay, so D, this is saying that you're a spiritual leader. You've got the ability to help people, not the way Trump helps. Don't mix politicians help or other leaders help how they lead with spiritual leadership. Spiritual leadership is about having an open and compassionate heart, not judging other people, and helping them by fully giving of yourself, not holding back. And of course, that's not what Trump does. But so you've got the ability, and because you're critical of Trump, it means you're very critical of your ability, your spiritual leadership ability. Obviously, it's nothing to do with Trump. It's all symbolic. And so you're critical of your ability. And that criticism, the fact that you're critical, comes from family influence, because you say you were at some kind of family thing. So it comes from a family influence. So you got to work on that issue, whatever it is with family that causes you to be critical in nature, and realize that you're not meant to criticize the ability that you're a spiritual leader. You're meant to just get into it. I hope that's enough from that dream to give you the answer. And then we have one from Denise. I do feel like I'm moving fast through these, but we have some nice short ones. And Denise says, last night I had a dream about a horse. In the dream, I was supposed to transfer the horse from one location to another. The horse was very wild and dangerous to everyone else, but with me, it would calm down. However, someone let it out and it was running rampant. It was my job to find it and bring it back before it got dark. Okay, so horses are about the ability to do spiritual healing, especially a powerful horse. Powerful car or motorbike's the same thing. So you've got that ability, and you're meant to take this out and use it. Get in touch with it. Don't be afraid of it. Like, you're not really afraid of it in the dream, but you say other people. What do you say? It was wild and dangerous to everyone else. So there still is the element of danger there. For you too, but you're meant to grapple with this hands-on healing ability. This is where you channel energy and pass it through your body, and typically then out through your hands into your clients. And if you have pets, that's a great way to practice this one, because they're very welcoming of this type of energy. But you've got it in spades. And the fact that it's out and running rampant, that's a good thing. You're meant to set it free. That's the whole point of all our gifts. We're meant to use them in reality. But you have fears. Now I know they show up as somebody else's fears, but you still have fears around this. And the whole point of the dream then is for you to find it, bring it back. And you say before it gets dark, but that's okay. Dark in dreams is about, I don't really know where to go with this or where to take this. But that's just where you are. So I can tell you from the dream that you've got this hands-on healing ability. Use it. Here, I know you've sent some other dreams where you're concerned about your own health. Use your hands-on healing ability on other people, because as you flow that healing energy through your body into them, it's also flowing through you, and you get the benefit of that healing power as well. Obviously going to be useful for you. And here's one from V. She says, I was unable to find the symbols for blood, money, windfall, and winning the lottery in your dream dictionary. Well, lots of those are in there. So let's mention them anyway. Money in dream. Money is the first one, well, second one. But money in dreams is about your heart and circulatory system. Money circulates in the economy and thus symbolizes your circulation. And this is straight out of my book. Sharing is symbolized through the constant receiving and giving of money. For example, an inability to share is symbolized by your wallet being stolen in a dream. If the money is a price tag, it is a request to put energy into something. Look up numbers to see what the price means. For example, to be asked for $3 means you're being asked to make a commitment, because that's what 3 is about. So that's straight out of the dictionary, just to prove that some of these are in the dictionary already. If you want the dictionary, go to my website now. You can download it for free. But let's move on. Blood has to do with spirituality, or indeed life, given that life is spiritual. So that's what blood is about. And winning the lottery is a good dream and can be symbolic of a pick-me-up if you're in need of money. But more commonly, I find it comes to people whose energy is depleted, and the dream is about restoring energy to the body. And she shares a dream. She said, a few months ago, I had a dream where there was blood poured on me with the words, the blood of Jesus, by my mother-in-law. I kept saying the words, come back, and my sleep broke. This was after staying in hospital for 4 days, where 3 specialists saw me and they couldn't diagnose the internal bleeding. So what I would take from this, because of the diagnosis and so on, we know that's already gone through your mind. But the blood of Jesus being poured on you is saying, get in touch with your spiritual side, bring it back, like you say in the dream, come back. But Jesus, we all are aware that he had a spiritual purpose in life. Whether you believe in Christianity or not, it doesn't matter. This is what you know about Jesus. And so the dream is reminding you that you have a spiritual purpose too. You're here for a reason, to develop and use your spiritual gifts in order to help other people. So work on those. Clear message of the dream. Okay, that's it. Thanks everybody for listening. Until next week, I'm Michael Sheridan.